Hey, good morning, everybody. Hey, welcome to the War Room. It is Monday, August 26th. It is the last full week of August in 2024, and this is the culminating event. This is episode 7, part 3 of Leadership. If you've watched part 1 and part 2, then I hope you are ready for part 3. In this part 3, dive into my take on more of the technical aspects of leadership. Normally, I make a show. I do very little editing. I hate it, but for this particular show, this is take 3, episode 3. Correction, episode 7, part 3, and this was the third attempt at shooting this video. Just some things happen. So here, let's dive into it. But first of all, a little shout out to the sponsor, the coffee in my cup. All right, and if you're a new subscriber, hey, I thank you. If you've been watching some of my shows, again, I thank you. I thank you for the support, and hopefully you can glean something, at least one thing that resonates with you in the War Room. So, all right, let's dive in. Because I do have an outline and I do have an agenda. But first of all, in part 1, I talked about how do you gain experience in leadership. And I mentioned books. And so I do have a short stack that I want to share with you. But remember, what encompasses the attributes and the characteristics of a great leader. In some ways, you either got it or you don't. Can you learn and grow and become a better leader? Absolutely. Absolutely you can. And what path do you take to become that? Well, a lot of it is trial and error, experience, learning from your experience, and then growing from it. But reading some books helps. So first of all, I do want to share with you the Bible. All right. Again, I'm not preaching to you. I'm just sharing with you. If you look at the Bible, and I've said this before, I put my faith in God above, the creator of heaven and earth. That's me. You can use the Bible as a historical timeline. You can if you want to. Anyways, I just want to share something with you because there are life lessons in leadership all throughout this Bible. I've had this Bible since 1997. All right, I was a private first class. Anyway, Bible 1997. I wrote it all down right here. All right, Fort Carson. I deployed Intrinsic Action 97. All right, Kuwait and Korea. Fort Lewis, which is now JBLM, Joint Base Lewis and McChord Air Force Base, in OIF 3, Operation Iraqi Freedom, 04-05. Fort Riley, Kansas, home of the Big Red 1. From there, Iraq, OIF 5 or 6, in 2008-2009. Baghdad, Fab Mahmadiyah. Afghanistan, Chimkani in 2013. 3rd Brigade 101 and 4th Brigade 101. Rakkasans and the Kurahis. And then on into retirement on 1 August 2015. All right, here's another one. Another book. John Maxwell, 25 Ways to Win with People. 25 Ways to Win with People. Whoa, hey, check it out. People are difficult. I can be difficult. People are difficult. Here's the one book that I referenced, number 1. This was the first book on leadership that I ever read. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Man, this is an amazing book. If you've never read this book, I recommend it. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Powerful Lessons in Personal Change, Stephen R. Covey. And then this book. Okay, I keep getting it mixed up which way I turn it. Patton's 1-Minute Messages. General Patton. This thing's an easy read. It's awesome. Chock full of lessons learned on leadership. That's my short stack of books. And then before we dive into my agenda, the 11 principles of leadership, a recap on command authority, and then I have some examples of situational authority. I never truly had command authority. Well, Mike, remind me, what is command authority? In the United States military, under just a synopsis, a short synopsis, don't get Axel. The Uniform Code of Military Justice. If you are a commissioned officer and you've been put to a position and you've been granted the ability and the privilege to be in command leadership, you have command authority. You have the opportunity to issue a law-abiding, lawful order. And then I, as a subordinate and a non-commissioned officer, I've already sworn a duty to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic, so help me God, and to obey the orders of the officers appointed over me. I take that stuff serious. That's command authority. I never really had command authority. I'm not a commissioned officer. I do have authority and power, or I did, while I was enlisted. Here's my point. In a minute, I'm going to go over situational leadership, because I didn't go over that in part 2. But first, I want to give a shout out to an individual. He is a commissioned officer. He is the former, it just happened in July, around July 20th, he had a change of command. And I called him a few days ago. I texted him and said, "Hey, sir, can I give you a shout out and can I reference you by name?" And I'm gonna attempt to link his information down below. He's either the CEO or a contributing member of a leadership, kind of like a blog or a vlog. I'll link it down below. It's called The Maximum Standard. The Maximum Standard. Again, I'm going to try to link it down below and just check it out. So this individual, I will tell you, I have the highest amount of respect for him. When you spend time in the military, people come and go. Some make an impression, good, bad, or indifferent. Others leave an impression. And I'm going to show you something. And you might ask, well, Mike, how and why do you have this? This is Colonel Stephen Messenger. Colonel Messenger. All right, this guy right here. This guy. Okay? Here's the deal. You find people that you gravitate to in life, and they're some capacity, they coach, train, and mentor you without even saying a word. Is he my mentor? No. No. But here's the deal. Silent mentor. Yeah, because I'm telling you what, every time this individual got up in front of an audience to talk, I was taking notes. Why? Because it was worth it. You don't meet a lot of people like that. And I will tell you, just recently, he reached out to me with some constructive criticism. That sounds harsh, Mike. No, constructive. And you know, you might want to rephrase that. Constructive critique. I'm telling you, when you believe in people, and you know that there's certain individuals who will accept constructive critique and criticism, the good kind of criticism, with a humble heart, with the way forward thinking, it all works out. I would tell you, you're missing out if you don't have someone in your life that is a silent mentor, someone that you gravitate to. And I would tell you, in 22 years in the military, there are few and far between great leaders. I have a short list. I do, both commissioned, non-commissioned officers, and some individuals that I served with. Here's my point. The garrison commander, who is no longer there, left an impression, not just on me. I'm sure quite a few people. But to you, sir, I salute you. Again, check out below the link, the maximum standard. Maximum standard. Thank you, sir. It down below. It's called the maximum standard. Why reference that individual? I will tell you the epitome of what true leadership is. Not just leadership from behind a desk. This is easy. Easy. This individual, he made it a point while he was the garrison commander at Fort McCoy, Wisconsin, to make his presence known. And not in a bad way. I'll tell you, during his assessment phase when he first took command approximately 3 years ago, one day he shows up at the front gate and he's checking IDs and he's smiling and he's saying, "Good morning. How are you? Have a great day. Make it great." Make it great. And now I'm being sarcastic. You know, I'm sure there's some individuals like, "Oh yeah, I got it. Brand new garrison commander wants to make his presence known and shows up at the front gate. Yada, yada, yada. Got it. Move out. Carry on." No, he deliberately made it a point to do that. I'm sure it was on his calendar, whether it was quarterly or, my point is, multiple times did he make an attempt to come to the gate. Why? Not to be in the spotlight, but I'm telling you, he made it a point to be present, to be a visible reminder that, hey, not only am I your garrison commander up at the flagpole, but I'm here for you. I support you because without you, the general workforce, I don't have a job. I tell you what, it was awesome. And I will tell you, if it wasn't what he said, the way he articulated it, it was none of that. It was evident that throughout his time as the garrison commander, he made his presence known away from the flagpole. And I will tell you, he visited not only every directorate, but then he funneled down and he made it a point to go to almost every workplace, cubicle, office, warehouse, and say, "Hey, I'm your garrison commander, and I'm not just going to sit behind my desk. I'm going to come say hi, and I'm going to say, whatever you decide to do today, make it great." So Colonel Stephen Messenger, man, what a great example. And I will tell you, again, I'll link the maximum standard down below. It was, I'm lost for words. Just a great example of true leadership. All right, situational leadership, because I talked about it in part 2, but I didn't really give an example as I grab my notes. All right, before we do that, let's recap a little bit of part 2. I ended it with this. If you ever find yourself in a position of leadership, you're going to get there primarily 2 ways. One is because you aspire to be in that position and you look for it and the door opens. All right. Or 2, by default, hey, check it out. You're the senior. You have seniority over your peers. So therefore, by default, you're the leader. Regardless of how it happens, or you get promoted into that position, if you don't own it, it will own you. I'm telling you. Own it, embrace it, learn from it, and be a leader. Sometimes that's all it takes. Take that first step forward and then own it. You got to own it, because I'm telling you, and you already know, if you don't own it, it'll own you. All right. Situational leadership. Mosul, Iraq in 2004. We were on a mission. We were escorting 30 three-letter organizations and some other personnel, some key individuals to go and do pinpointed site surveys for upcoming Iraq elections. All right, on that particular mission, the platoon sergeant was embedded in a small group. They dismounted. The platoon leader was embedded in a small group. They dismounted. And then several of the other squad leaders, they were same thing. Well, Mike, you're one of the senior staff sergeants. You're the sniper section leader. Today, you're going to stay in the vehicle, static position. You're going to control the mounted security portion, and then you're going to be on the radio relaying information back to the TOC, and then receiving information, and then disseminating that through the dismounts on the ground. On the back of my Stryker happened to be a naval officer and one of my snipers. They were pulling local security right there at the vehicle, and all of a sudden, our dismounts, we started receiving direct enemy fire. Small arms fire to include mortar rounds. They were creeping. They were lobbing them in, and then they were walking those rounds into our fixed position. And so my point is, now we got a tick. This is me, troops in contact. I'm calling back to the TOC. I'm receiving information from all the dismounts on the ground. Situational leadership. Something happened on the back of my Stryker that I had to make a decision. And as a staff sergeant in the Army, with my ROE, my rules of engagement, this is the example of situational leadership. My guy and the naval officer on the back, they look back at me and they're like, and then now the Navy guy was just waiting. He's attached. My guy goes, "Sergeant Messmer, we're being shot at." Now, I wasn't mad, but my immediate response in that situation, there's an adjective that came out of my mouth that I'm not going to repeat right now, but it went something like this. "Hey, Sergeant Messmer, we're being shot at." Well, shoot back. Shoot back. Well, the Navy guy was like, "All right, I'm just waiting, I'm waiting." My guy, he got that twinkle in his eye. That's all they needed was a tiny bit of reassurance. Click, boom. Man, they were on it. But here's my point. Did I hesitate? No. Because I understood my role. I understood the situation. And I made a decision. Situational leadership. Did I call and say, "Hey, can I do this?" No. Here's my point. Sometimes you're in a position where they're counting on you to make the decision. So make it. Anyways, let's move on to another example of situational leadership. This was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And some of you watching this, you're going to be, "Yep, I've been in those shoes." So we're in Afghanistan in 2013. We're at 6,000 feet above sea level. We're on the border of Pakistan, right next to FATA. FATA is the federally administrated tribal area. It is essentially an area where tribal Bedouins live. However, and so Afghanistan and Pakistan, they don't truly rule it. So this is just a snapshot of what FATA is. Here's my point. The Taliban and the Haqqani network working out of Pakistan, they know it. And so they have near freedom of movement. My point is, you add the stress of elevation and then the Taliban and then being on the border at 6,000 feet, it can get to you. I was a stud. All right, we were attached, forward deployed, attached to the 101st. They were studs. We're infantry. But I'm telling you, you go from 600 feet of elevation stateside, CONUS, and you deploy rapidly into 6,000 feet. It doesn't matter how many push-ups you can do. It doesn't matter how fast you can run 2 miles, 5 miles, 10 miles. It'll get you. We go on a mission. We're embedded with the ANA, the Afghan National Army. We have a platoon from the 101st. The PL, the platoon leader, comes to me the night before the mission and says, "Hey, Sergeant Messmer, I'm not doubting your leadership or your decision making, However, there's one individual that you've selected from my team, my small team, and we have grave concerns about his physical ability to be part of this mission, because we were gonna wheeled vehicle out to a release point where the vehicles could no longer maneuver. Those vehicles were gonna establish security, and then we were gonna dismount with the ANA and then move up this valley until you get to the cliff and get to the top. I said, you know what? With this particular individual, I said, all right, let me think about it. I'll come back to you. I went and talked to this individual and said, hey, look, I just got to be honest with you. I know you really want to go on this mission. I wasn't going to say nothing, but I am now. Am I being pressured? Yeah, a little bit. I'm not the PL. I'm not the platoon leader that's in charge of this mission outside the wire. And they have concerns whether you are physically fit enough. I made a poor decision. I vouched for him, and I went back to the PL. I said, you know what? I got it. I will assume full responsibility for this individual. And boy, did I ever. Cut short, we're dismounted, moving up the valley. We have not even gotten to the cliff yet, and they call me back. Hey, get back here, Sergeant Messmer. We got an issue. I come back, and I'm like, God, this dude. Well, Mike, if he was so out of shape, I'm just gonna say it. He was fat. Well, how'd that happen? I don't even have time to explain to you the unique situation that I was in. Was that dude part of the 101st? No, he was part of my little tiny element that got attached. It's a sad, long story. But here I am. He's on his knees, rucksack taken off. He's vomiting profusely, can't catch his breath, and he's sucking wind. And now the PL's looking at me going, I told you. Handle your business, Messmer. So here's the deal. Situational leadership. There's nothing I can do. We're not turning back. All right. Is it mission critical? Yeah. Yeah. He just compromised every single dude that was on the ground, because now every single soldier, and I'd say, well, you got to love this. Every single soldier that was dismounted carried an extra mortar round. If we would have needed it that day, yeah, extra mortar round plus your daily your rations, extra your gear and your assault pack, extra water, 1 MRE, whatever. If the mountain's not getting you, your assault pack is. So I'm starting to ramble. Here's the point. I took his assault pack. Now Sergeant Messmer has 2 assault packs, 2 extra mortar rounds, all my kit, all my gear. I look at another one of my guys and I said, you will not leave his side. If he falls out, you fall out. My point in case, it was embarrassing, but I take full responsibility. End of mission, we get back. Thank goodness nothing happened. I'll tell you what, it was an abandoned Taliban winter camp. Oh, there was stuff there. You know what I truly think saved us that day? The entire time we had rotary wing Cass, an Apache, the entire time on station. The entire time on station. We get back to the FOB. This is my point to all of this. Bear with me. I know this video is going to be a little bit longer. Try to keep it at 30 minutes. The mission was over. We debriefed, and then I had to go and do something that I wished I wouldn't have had to do in the first place. Had I made the right decision. I said, hey, look, you're grounded. What do you mean? You're not going outside the wire for the remainder of this deployment? You're done, son. Now, I'll tell you what. No man, no leader wants to go to another man, look him in the eye and say, you know what? This is the honest to God truth. It's hard, but you got to do it. Point in case. 2 examples of situational awareness. Correction, situational leadership. So With that being said, if someone was to ask me, well, Mike, then regardless if you're in the corporate world, if you're at home, you're a father, you're single, it doesn't matter, or you're in the military, what is the hardest part about leadership? And I will tell you, it doesn't matter what level you're at. I've always said this, and I learned the hard way when I got promoted and inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officer. Oh, you had an induction ceremony? I sure did, because it means something. In my career, I've seen far too many non-commissioned officers, sergeants, who they like the pay, but they don't want to put in the time or effort to become truly great leaders. The hardest part about leadership is making decisions that aren't always popular, but they're right. Do I always make the right decision? No, but I'm telling you, the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officer, listen to me. If you were to ask me right now, Mike, do you still remember your 3 general orders that you were force-fed in basic training at Fort Benning, which is now Fort Moore, in 1993? My first general order is, I will guard everything within the limits of my post and quit my post only when properly relieved. My second general order is, yada, yada, yada. Here's my point. You don't take that stuff serious, then how can I be confident that you're going to take your role as a non-commissioned officer, a leader of soldiers, serious? No one is more professional than I. I am a non-commissioned officer, a leader of soldiers. As a non-commissioned officer, I realize I am a member of a time-honored corps, which is known as the backbone of the Army. Competence is my watchword. My 2 basic responsibilities will always be uppermost in my mind: the accomplishment of my mission and the welfare of my soldiers. I could keep going because there's more. Here's my point. If you're in a leadership position, take it serious. All right, let's go to pretty much the end of this series on leadership. I told you that we would go over the technical aspects of leadership. This is not all-encompassing. All right, I'm going to go and talk to you about the 11 principles of Army leadership. 11. Out of the 11, I highlighted 3 because they're my favorite. All right, number 1, and this isn't just for the military. If you're watching this and you've never served, you'll get something out of this. Number 1, know yourself and seek self-improvement. Enough said. All right, number 2, be technically and tactically proficient. Basically, know your job. I'm telling you, you can spot from a mile away someone who fakes the funk and fluff and bluff. All right, they're studs and duds. Remember, studs and duds. Know your job. Be technically and tactically proficient. Number 3, develop a sense of responsibility among your subordinates. Empower them. You don't got to remind them who's in charge. They already know. All right, number 4, make sound and timely decisions. Situational leadership. Number 5, set the example. All right, number 6, know your people, know the individuals who are under you, and look out for their general welfare, their well-being. Can you fix all problems? Nope. Can you fix gossip? Nope. Can you fix BS? Nope. But can you care for them and fix some of the issues they might be facing? Absolutely. Number 7, keep your people informed. Keep your people informed. Number 8, seek responsibility and take responsibility for your own actions. Don't play the blame game. Don't spin it. Don't point the finger. If you mess up, fess up. All right? Number 9, ensure assigned tasks are understood, supervised, and accomplished in full. All right? It is easy to supervise from the desk. Make your presence known. Oh, Mike, are you micromanaging me? No, but I'm going to assess the situation. I'm going to fit in where I need to get in, and then I'm gonna supervise and refine, and then make sure that we as a collective group accomplished the mission. All right, and then the last two, number 10, train your people as a collective team. Is there a time and place for individual one-on-one? Absolutely. No one wants to be that one individual who sits back, never gets looked at, their voice never gets heard, all right? Because no one wants to be that individual. Are there people who are like, Mike, I don't want to be a leader. I want to come to work, do my thing, and go home. Nothing wrong with that. But I'm telling you, if you're in a leadership position, every voice counts. And then number 11, employ your team in accordance with its capabilities, all right? Then to recap, my top 3 favorite. Know yourself and seek self-improvement. Man, that never ends. That never ends. Make sound and timely decisions. They might not always be right, but sometimes you got to act. And then my third one is take responsibility for your actions. Yeah, take responsibility for your actions. All right. We are sitting at 28 minutes. I got about 2 minutes. I'm trying to keep these under 30, well under 30. This was episode 7. Part 3, the technical aspects of leadership. I'm going to share with you one last story because it resonated with me. In 1993, like you all know, I joined the Army. I get in a cohort unit. We graduate basic training at Fort Benning, which is now Fort Moore. Mike, why do you keep saying that? Well, because it is Fort Moore. General Hal Moore. All right, Google him. All right, I'm glad that it's Fort Moore. That dude was awesome. All right, we were soldiers once and young. All right, but Fort Benning, that resonates with me because that's where I started. Anyways, leave Fort Benning. I go straight to Hawaii, 25th Infantry Division Light. My first little detail that I was ever put on, I was put under a sergeant from the 82nd Airborne, who was not my team leader, was not my squad leader. It was a funeral detail, and he happened to be the sergeant in charge. This was my first lesson on situational leadership that has lasted me almost 30 years. I don't even remember his name, Sergeant McGee. All right, he was in charge of the funeral detail in Hawaii. And at some point, he's like, all right, I've taught you the funeral detail process, the 21-gun salute, marching, the flag folding ceremony, the handoff. Now, each one of you is going to come up here, and you're going to be in charge, and I'm going to take your spot. He did that for every single. Why? A lot of reasons why. I'm going to cut to the chase. Now, privates can be timid. And it was me or somebody. He goes, time out. He goes, listen to me. If you're ever put in charge, take charge. Man, that resonated with me. If you're ever put in charge, take charge. Does that mean you get a big head and big muscles and you fight your way through and say, hey, look at me, I'm in charge, I'm large and in charge? No. I'm just going to leave you with that. If you're ever put in charge, take charge. Anyways, that's it. This was episode 7, part 3, leadership. This was part 1, part 2, and part 3. I appreciate if you subscribe and if you get something out of these videos. I truly do. This is the War Room. Look forward to the next show coming up. It's going to be a 9/11 special. It's coming. 9/11 special. It's coming. All right. Hey, whatever you decide to do today, make it great. Woo! Make it great. The War Room. Leadership. Make it great.